A millionaire revealed his heartwarming secret at his ex-fiancée's wedding. A homeless woman's inspirational story unveiled. Jake stood in the doorway of his diner, breathing in the familiar smell of bacon and pancakes. But today it was all overshadowed by the glaring excitement blooming across the street. Everywhere he looked, the town was dressed up for the wedding of Emily and Mark, the tech mogul who swept in like a storm. The church was ablaze with twinkling lights, mocking the harsh reality of his life. It felt surreal, as if the laughter of children and the warmth of home-cooked meals were fading into a distant memory. Jake was the blue-collar hero of this small Midwestern town, but now, he felt like an intruder in a world once shared with the girl who held his heart. As he turned to wipe a tear away, Jake stumbled upon Ruth. The kind-hearted homeless woman was tucked away in the corner of his diner, a shadow of her former self. Her smile had once lit up the room, but years of hardship had etched deep lines of pain upon her face. Today they shared an unexpected connection, both losing their way in a world that forgot them. Words flowed between them, revealing shared scars. "I once had a home," Ruth whispered, her voice trembling. "But life took it all away." Jake understood that loss more than he cared to admit. They were two souls seeking recognition in a town too often blinded by status. Lost in thought, the church bells rang, echoing through the streets, a jarring reminder of the moment. With each toll, the reality of Emily's impending marriage hit harder. But as he listened to Ruth's story, a flicker of determination ignited inside of him. He resolved to help restore Ruth's dignity, to remind her that she was not just a forgotten fragment of their community. Becoming an advocate for Ruth suddenly felt as urgent as the wedding bells chiming. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake stood at the back of the church, he could see Emily adorned in white, her happiness radiating like sunlight. Joyful cries resonated around him, but his heart raced with a chaotic blend of pain and pride. When Emily and Mark exchanged their vows, Jake's emotions spiraled. It was a moment meant for celebration, yet all he could see was Ruth seated alone at the rear, cast aside. And then he made a choice. With courage swelling in his chest, Jake rose to his feet. The crowd turned, confused murmurs swirling around him. "Wait!" he shouted, his voice breaking the soft rhythm of the ceremony. "I've quietly supported Emily. I believed in her when nobody else would. I funded her dreams." Each word felt like a lifeline thrown into deep waters. Gasps echoed, eyes widened, and silence swallowed the church. In that arresting instant, Jake's revelation set off ripples that challenged the very foundation of how they viewed success. The guests' focus shifted from gowns and garlands to vulnerability, and the once celebratory atmosphere now swirled with a weight that was painfully real. Jake locked eyes with Ruth. Tears streamed down her face, but for the first time in a long while, they were tears of hope. As he stood there, hearts exchanging silent vows of resilience, Jake felt his spirit lift. Would this be a turning point for Ruth? Could the community finally look beyond wealth? The quest for transformation was just beginning, but the gravity of that single moment had already pulled the town into a new conversation about worth and connection. With the wedding celebration hanging in the balance, the real journey, one of redemption and unity, awaited. Jake's heart raced as he stood in front of the congregation, the silence thick with disbelief. Emily's eyes widened, shock rippling through her like a wave. Mark's face darkened, his smile faltering as uncertainty crept in. The guests exchanged nervous glances, unsure of how to react to this sudden disruption. Jake felt vulnerable, exposed, yet he couldn't back down now. "I didn't do it for accolades or recognition," he continued, his voice steady despite his rising pulse. "I believed Emily could do great things. I invested in her dream because I always knew she had something special." Before Jake could draw another breath, Emily stepped forward, her wedding dress flowing behind her like a tide. "Jake," she faltered before finding her voice. The worry etched on her face deepened as she took a step closer, her gaze flickering between Jake and Mark. "You supported me all this time?" "Yes," Jake said, pouring every ounce of conviction into those two syllables. And I want to remind everyone here success isn't just measured in dollars. It's measured in hearts, in kindness, and in lifting others up like Ruth. The atmosphere shifted as eyes turned toward Ruth, still seated, her expression a mix of awe and disbelief. Jake could see the spark of recognition in her eyes. She was more than the woman they often overlooked. She was a fighter with a story worth telling. What he's saying is true. Ruth's voice broke through the unease, strong and trembling all at once. Once I had a job, a home, and hope. Life twisted me upside down, but that doesn't mean I should be forgotten. Just like Jake said, we all have worth. The church was silent for a moment, as if the air was charging with a new energy. This was not just a wedding anymore, it was a call to action. Jake's heart soared at Ruth's courage. Emily turned to Mark, a world of unspoken questions dancing in her eyes. What do we do now? She whispered, and it ripped through the air like thunder. Mark seemed flustered, his brow furrowing in thought. Jake could see the gears turning behind his eyes. This was more than a fight for attention now. It was a moment of redefining everything they thought they knew about wealth and success. He finally stammered, attempting to weigh the implications. Let us help Ruth. And not just her. Let us create a program that supports others like her in our community, he suggested, his voice shaky yet resolute. The church buzzed alive, conversations igniting in bursts of excitement and agreement. Jake felt an electric pulse of possibility surge through the crowd. What if we take this moment, he thought, and change everything? What if this could truly mean something? Then the chimes of the church bells chimed again, a harmonious backdrop to the fervor that erupted within the hearts of those gathered. This wedding was transforming into a movement, a newfound purpose standing resolutely against societal norms. Suddenly, Ruth caught Jake's eye, and they shared a knowing smile, two souls who understood the challenge that lay ahead. But Jake also felt that tug in his heart, the hint of fear at what it would take to shift not just the community's perception, but his own. Would he have the strength to lead this change? Would he be enough to rally others behind Ruth and their cause? As the wedding day blurred into something greater, Jake wondered about the path ahead, both for Ruth and for himself. With his heart pounding fiercely against his chest, he took a deep breath and said, "Let us transform this town together, starting today." Just when the celebration began to take flight, a figure in the back of the church caught Jake's eye, an old friend he never thought he would see again. And as Jake's breath hitched, a knot of anxiety twisted in his stomach. What news would this familiar face bring? Jake's heart plummeted at the sight of Derek, an old college friend he hadn't seen in years. They used to dream big together, talking about startups and changing the world with innovation. But Derek had taken a different path, one that led him to wealth, fame, and the cutthroat world of finance. Now here he was, a ghost from Jake's past, lurking at the edge of the wedding chaos. Derek's expression was unreadable, but the way he shifted his weight from one foot to the other told Jake everything he needed to know. He looked lost, almost remorseful. This wasn't the moment Jake had envisioned, the momentum building around Ruth, and the promise of something greater. With resolve, Jake stepped away from the crowd, instinctively moving toward the back of the church. The eyes of the congregation faded behind him. There was something Derek needed to say, and Jake had to hear it, even amidst the blossoming chaos. "Jake." Derek's voice was low but charged with urgency. "I didn't think you'd be here." "I didn't think you'd show up," Jake replied, crossing his arms defensively. "I thought you were too busy with your corporate empire." "Funny," Derek chuckled, though his laughter didn't reach his eyes. "I've left that behind. I can't do it anymore. It's meaningless." "Then why now? Why here?" Jake pressed, his heart racing again, but this time from frustration rather than exhilaration. Derek looked past Jake toward the gathering crowd, where Emily stood discussing plans for the program they'd just envisioned. "I came to apologize," he said, his voice heavy. "For everything. For how I left things with you. And for how I treated people who deserved better." Surprise washed over Jake. He never expected to have this conversation amidst a wedding. "Why bring it up now? You don't even know Ruth." "I know enough," Derek insisted. "I dropped the ball back then because I got swept away in ambition. I forgot what it really means to help others, to make a difference." Derek's fingers trembled slightly, betraying his deep-seated regret. Jake studied him closely. This was not the same Derek he remembered. There was an openness, a vulnerability that he had never shown before, not even in college. But it's too late for me, Derek continued, his eyes glistening. You're changing things, Jake. And I want to help. I want to give back, but I don't know how. Jake felt a swell of hope mingled with skepticism. Could they reconcile the past? Could Derek really shed the skin of self-interest to join a cause that mattered? You want to help? What does that even mean? Derek took a deep breath, letting the words tumble out. I run a charity now. Don't laugh, I didn't start it, but I am going to do everything I can to make it something real. Jake searched Derek's face for signs of sincerity. In their previous lives, money had defined them. Yet here they stood, two friends, fractured by ambition but now faced with a shared purpose. What are you offering? Jake couldn't guard his hopes anymore. Funding. Resources. Connections, Derek stated, resolute. You've sparked something with Ruth, something special. I want to fuel that. I want to be involved not for my sake but for something bigger. As the chaos of the wedding swirled around them, Jake looked back at Emily and Ruth. The energy was infectious. People were starting to believe in something more significant than themselves. The tension hung thick between them. Could he really trust his old friend? Would this be the moment everything could change? Let us talk, Jake finally said, uncertainty lacing his words, but hope flickered like a candle in the night. Before he could process their encounter, the church doors creaked open, and a gust of wind rushed in, carrying with it an unexpected chill. A newcomer entered, one Jake couldn't recognize. But as he caught sight of that figure, their presence engulfed the church with a sudden intensity that shifted everything. Jake's heart skipped. What if this was the key to the real change they were aiming for? But then what if it tore apart the new bonds they were building? Dread and curiosity battled inside him as he stepped closer to the unfamiliar face. What had just walked through the door? The figure that had appeared at the church doors was striking, causing a ripple of whispers among the guests. Clad in a long weathered coat and a scarf draped haphazardly around her shoulders, the woman seemed to bring with her an air of resilience mixed with fragility. Her hair was unkempt, wild curls spiraling out in all directions, but her eyes, those deep, searching eyes, held a world of stories. Jake felt a magnetic pull toward her, drawn in by a curiosity that he could neither name nor resist. As the woman's gaze swept across the aisle, she finally landed on Derek. The look they shared was electric. It crackled with recognition and something else, intensity, perhaps desperation. Derek's face paled. Vera, he breathed. The name was spoken like a prayer. A summoning. Jake turned to Derek, confusion sharpening his features. You know her? Derek nodded, visibly shaken. She was an acquaintance from my past. Things went wrong. The air between them thickened with unspoken pain. Jake looked back at Vera, who had made her way toward Derek now, the whispers of the crowd fading into the background. It's been a long time, she said softly, her voice tinged with a gentleness that contrasted with her ragged appearance. I didn't think I'd find you here. Derek took a step forward, his defenses crumbling. I thought you were gone for good. Vera's eyes glimmered with unshed tears, the light reflecting off her cheeks, echoing a deep sadness. I've been everywhere, Derek. Running, trying to survive. Jake felt the weight of their exchanged words like a stone sinking in his gut. The connection between them was palpable, a history neither had fully buried. In her presence, Derek seemed to shed some of his bravado, revealing a rawness unseen until now. This is my fault, Derek admitted, voice quaking. I thought I could fix everything by throwing money at it, fix myself. I lost track of what really mattered. Vera shook her head slowly, looking down at her worn shoes. You can't buy your way out of everything, Derek. I've tried that path too. The two of them stood there, enveloped in a silence thick with shared regret and healing. The chaos of the wedding still lurked in the background, but Jake felt his heart caught somewhere between awe and dread. Are you okay? Derek finally asked, reaching out a hand that paused just an inch from her shoulder. Vera met his gaze, her expression shifting from pain to resolve. Getting there. The crowd around them had shifted, now turning their heads, murmurs rippling through those gathered. Eyes darted from Jake to Derek and then to Vera. Jake noticed Ruth in the distance, her brow furrowed with concern as she strained to catch the scene unfolding. But it was then that Jake felt a sudden pang of urgency. He had come to embrace the possibilities of reconciliation with Derek, And now this encounter threatened to unravel not just their moment of understanding, but all the hope attached to their budding efforts to help others. Maybe we can all talk, Jake offered, his voice breaking through the tension. Can we come together, figure this out? Together? The word hung between them, laden with potential and history. Derek looked at Jake, something flickering in his eyes. Hope? Fear? You want to include her in this? Why not? If she's part of your past, if she wants to be part of the change we're aiming for, then it only makes sense, Jake insisted, determined to bridge the gap. But as Vera shifted uncomfortably, the crowd closed and their whispers grew louder, not just from curiosity but also judgment. Would they stand together and resist that judgment, face their realities, and find healing in the most unexpected way? Or would history trap them where they once were, flickering in the shadows of their failures? What would happen next? Derek glanced around, his face tightening as the whispers grew bolder. The guests, who had been caught up in the joy of the wedding, now turned their attention on them, curiosity mixed with judgment. Each murmured word felt like a weight pressing down on him. Let us step outside, he suggested, his voice low but firm. He took a step back, gesturing toward the church doors, his heart racing. The last thing they needed was a spectacle. Vera hesitated, her eyes scanning the eager faces. Do you think it's safe? Jake nodded, feeling the urgency in the air. We'll be okay. Just a few minutes outside. The fresh air might do us good. Derek led the way, pushing through the heavy wooden doors, the sunlight spilling in and embracing them in warmth. It felt like stepping into a different world, away from the scrutinizing eyes and hushed conversations. Outside, the fresh summer breeze blew softly, rustling the leaves of the nearby trees. Jake watched as Vera wrapped her arms around herself, her body language a tight knot of tension. Vera, Derek started, his voice faltering. The words tangled in his throat, but he was determined to keep speaking. I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't know how to be what you needed. Vera's gaze pierced into him, but her voice remained calm. And I didn't know how to ask for help, Derek. We were both lost. A silence settled between them, but this time it felt different, charged with hope rather than regret. Jake cleared his throat, pushing the tension away. What do you think needs to happen next? Vera took a deep breath, her face softening slightly. Maybe we need to stop running. Be honest about where we are now. Honesty, Derek echoed, the word hanging in the air like a resolution. It's a start. Suddenly, the fading music from inside reminded Jake of the wedding. Wedding is still happening inside. We should get back, but we need to figure this out. Jake, you don't know the past I share with Derek, Vera said, her expression shadowed by doubt. It was Derek who stepped toward her, an intensity in his voice. But we can decide how we move forward. Together. You matter to me, Vera. I never stopped caring. Jake felt a rush of emotion. This was honesty, raw and real. Ruth poked her head out the door. Curiosity etched on her face. Are you all right? Her protective nature shone as she stepped out to join them, her presence grounding. Derek turned to her. We're figuring things out. Ruth's eyes flicked between the three of them. She sensed the weight of the moment but chose to push forward. You have to listen to each other. Hiding in the shadows, isn't the answer. Vera nodded, but Jake saw the flicker of uncertainty dance behind her confidence. I want to, but I also don't want to drag anyone down because of my choices. No one's dragging you down. Jake stepped closer, adamant. Remember, we're building something new here. Everyone has flaws. We help each other rise. That's what family does. The warmth of Jake's words wrapped around Vera, almost palpable. But her expression remained conflicted. Are you saying, she hesitated, that you see me as family? Derek smiled, a hint of the boy she once knew. If that's what it takes to heal and begin again, then yes. We all need to be vulnerable. Vera's breath caught in her throat. Was it possible to find a home in this new reality? One filled with acceptance and love? Just as hope began to root in her heart, a sudden shout echoed from inside the church. Hey, where's Derek? It was Cal, swarming with bottles in hand, oblivious to the tension. The moment shattered a reminder of the fragility that surrounded them. They weren't just navigating each other's pasts, they had a crowd to face. What secrets would be exposed under the scrutiny of their friends? And would those honest words turn out to be the key to not just healing, but a new beginning? The laughter and music from inside the church spilled into the air, blending with the sweet scent of jasmine that hung in the warm summer breeze. But the lightness of the moment felt fragile now, like a bubble ready to burst. Derek shifted uncomfortably as Cal approached, that familiar carefree spirit bubbling over with excitement. "Why do you bail on us? You missing out on some serious dancing?" Cal grinned, oblivious to the tension weighing heavily on Vera and Derek. Vera exchanged a quick glance with Derek, silently debating how much to reveal. At that moment Ruth stepped forward, her fierce protective instincts kicking in. "We were just discussing some important things," she said, carefully choosing her words. "Maybe you should join the others, Cal." Cal's brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of intuition running through him. "Important things, huh? You sure you're all right?" His eyes darted from Ruth to Derek, then to Vera. "You guys don't look so good." Before anyone could respond, the church doors swung open wider, allowing a cascade of lively voices and laughter to flow out. A few more friends spilled out, their expressions amused yet puzzled at the gathering outside. Derek took a deep breath, pushing through the unsettling feeling in his chest. "Cal, listen. It's a bit more complicated than just needing to dance." "Complicated?" Cal's grin faltered, replaced by genuine concern. "You're serious, aren't you?" Vera's heart raced as she sensed the eyes of the group falling upon them. "It's just something we need to," she began, but the words felt tangled. She glanced at Jake, who stepped forward once more, a reassuring presence. "Guys," Jake said, drawing everyone's attention. "We're working through some things. Vera and Derek have history. Real history. And it's time to be honest with ourselves, not just for them but for all of us." The collective hush that followed felt like a weight in the air. Derek could sense the shift, the realization that they were all part of this tangled web. "Should we just go back in?" Ruth suggested, her tone light yet earnest. "You can talk about this later, right? It's a wedding. We should celebrate." The suggestion hung in the air. Derek caught Vera's eye, searching for an answer in the depths of her expression. She looked torn, battling between wanting to push back into safety and hanging on to this moment of truth. "I don't know if we can go back in just yet," Vera finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not without facing what's lingering between us and letting everyone see." Cal shifted on his feet, clearly confused but trying to absorb it all. "So what are you saying? That we should just get real with everyone right now?" Vera nodded, steeling herself, the flicker of determination slicing through the uncertainty. "Exactly. If we can be honest with ourselves, maybe we can figure out if there's a way forward together." Jake smiled encouragingly, proud of her courage. "That's the spirit. But do we really want to do this in front of everyone? There's a lot at stake here." Derek felt the knot in his stomach tighten at the thought of unveiling their past before a crowd friends who had only seen happy moments of laughter. It felt like standing naked on display. But then he thought of Vera's face, the way it shone with hope and fear all at once. "I think we owe it to each other and to ourselves," he said, his voice stronger now, filled with resolve. "If we're going to heal, let us not hide from it." The group watched with bated breath as Vera took a step forward, her heart pounding, both terrified and ready. The fusion of adrenaline and emotion surged within her, and suddenly she felt lighter. "Let us go back in," she said, the decision solid in her chest. Just then, another figure appeared at the church doors. Their appearance sent a tremor through the group, a shadow from the past that could change everything. Would the truth they were about to reveal bind them as a family, or would it tear them apart completely? The figure standing at the church doors was unmistakable. With tousled hair and a look of cautious anticipation, Alex stepped into the light. It had been years since they had last seen him, and the group collectively inhaled, the sound rippling through the air like thrown stones. "Alex," Derek whispered, barely able to process the shock washing over him. His heartbeat quickened, memories flooding his mind as he watched Alex take a hesitant step forward. Cal was the first to break the silence. "What are you doing here, man?" he asked, half in confusion, half in excitement. But the question hung in the air like a ghost, unanswered. Vera's heart was in her throat as she tried to meet Alex's gaze. Flashes of their past flickered to life, moments of laughter, of pain. She had spent countless nights wondering if she'd get closure. And now here he was, a storm from her past threatening to upend the fragile peace she had worked to build with Derek. "I needed to see you all," Alex finally said, His voice steady, but his eyes betrayed deep hurt. I know it's a wedding. And I shouldn't have come. But, he paused, searching for words. There is something I need to share. The tension curved like a taut wire, ready to snap. Derek shot Vera a sidelong glance, worry etched in his features. The crowd from inside tittered in curiosity, a buzz of excitement mingling with apprehension. This wasn't just any wedding. It was a reunion of old friendships and the remains of unhealed wounds. Whatever it is, you should say it here, Jake encouraged, stepping forward as if to guide Alex into the circle. We were just about to have a moment of honesty. Alex's gaze darted toward the crowd still waiting just inside the church doors. He squared his shoulders as if preparing for a fight. I think you all deserve to know the truth about me, the truth about Vera and what happened between us. Vera felt dizzy. Alex, you don't have to do this, she protested softly, but the pleading in her voice landed on deaf ears. I do, Alex said, his voice gaining strength. We can't pretend this isn't part of our story. It shaped all of us. Derek stepped closer to Vera, grasping her hand instinctively. Fear wrapped around her heart, squeezing tighter still. This could unravel everything. But a more profound voice in her head whispered otherwise. Maybe this was the moment to reveal the layers hidden beneath smiles. I loved Vera, Alex declared, and the words hung heavy between them, echoing. Derek's grip tightened around her hand. But I also let her go. I didn't see that I was pushing her away until it was too late. I made mistakes, costly ones. Vera's chest tightened. She could feel a rush of anger mixed with gratitude at the same time. Did he really understand the weight of his words? Had he thought about how they would affect her now? Cal, still caught off guard, scanned the crowd. But this is a wedding. It's supposed to be happy. Can't we not when there is something weighing so heavily on us all? Alex pushed back. We can't move forward until the past is addressed. Vera deserves to know that I never stopped caring about her. Even after all these years. Tears welled up in Vera's eyes and she blinked them away. But you're not the only one who made mistakes, Alex, she said, her voice trembling. You left me just when I needed you. Alex's expression softened. Remorse etched into every line of his face. I know. I'm sorry. I thought I was doing what was best for both of us, but if I could go back I wouldn't. The room pulsed with tension, emotions surging like tides. The crowd saw the truth unfold. A swirl of heartbeats and whispered confessions, caught in a web woven of love and regret. Ruth's voice cut through the chaos, soft yet powerful. Maybe this is an opportunity, she said, looking between Vera and Derek. An opportunity to let go together. Would Vera find closure with Alex after all these years? Or would Derek's hold on her heart prove stronger? All eyes turned to Vera, waiting for her answer in the fraught silence, while the distant music of the celebration inside played on, oblivious to the storm brewing just outside its doors. Vera could feel the weight of every gaze upon her, piercing through the air like arrows dipped in uncertainty. Her heart raced, a wild drum echoing in her ears as she stood at the crossroads of the past and future, the faces of her friends swirling into a blur. The warmth of Derek's hand in hers was both a comfort and a reminder of the life she had begun to build. Yet Alex's confession lingered, raw and undeniable. What was she supposed to say? The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. She began, but the words stuck in her throat, tangled with years of hurt and unsaid things. Just tell us how you feel, Vera, Jake urged gently. This is about honesty for all of us. Taking a deep breath, she turned slightly to face Alex, her eyes searching his. You think this is easy? She asked, fighting against the disarray in her emotions. You walked away, Alex. You left me when I was broken and alone. Alex's face crumpled as he stepped closer, vulnerability painted across his features. I know I messed up, Vera. I thought pushing you away would keep you safe. But I see now I only hurt you more. I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to show it. The crowd watched, tension tightening as the air shifted, anticipation humming like a live wire. Derek's thumb stroked her hand, grounding her in the moment. The man who stood beside her, proud and steady, ready to fight for what they had. But could she fight for something that might have never been? Do you mean it? She whispered, her heart racing in a way that felt both thrilling and terrifying. Do you really think we could go back? I don't expect you to forgive me, Alex said, his voice fragile, but I wanted you to know that I regret letting you go. I never got to say goodbye properly. I just wish his words were a lifeline, pulling her closer to the edge of emotions she had buried. I can't just pretend this didn't happen. Maybe you don't have to pretend anymore. Ruth chimed in, her voice cutting through the tension. You can be honest about what you want, and so can she. With each look exchanged between Alex and Derek, she could feel the choices pressing down on her. One was the energy of a long-lost love, alive with possibilities but laden with heartbreak. The other was familiar, warm, and had been her rock through the storm of life's unexpected turns. Vera closed her eyes for a second, piecing together fragments of her heart. I care about you, Alex, she confessed at last. But I also love Derek. I don't know how to reconcile that. Derek shifted, releasing her hand just enough for her to feel the tremor of his own heart. The hurt in his eyes was staggering, and for the first time, she witnessed fear ripple through him, fear of the unknown. Did he doubt her commitment? Could he sense her wavering? Vera, Derek finally said, his voice low, you don't have to decide this now. Just know that I'm here for you. No matter what you choose. I love you. It should have been simple. But with every heartbeat, the landscape shifted. Alex deserved the chance to speak, but so did Derek, right here under this sun-soaked sky. The crowd buzzed quietly, every stifled breath charging the air. You could both talk to me. We could find a way through this, Vera proposed, her voice a tremor of hope intertwined with despair. Would you really want to? Alex asked softly. To try to navigate this together? Vera looked between them, two paths stretching wildly before her. Maybe this is just the beginning of all the truths we've hidden away. We owe it to ourselves to understand our hearts better. As sunlight streamed through the church doors, illuminating the space around them with a fierce brightness, the moment felt transformative, charged with unspoken potential. The tableau before her split into countless possibilities, and Vera felt a whisper of courage bubble within her. Let us talk, she said more firmly now. Let us try to understand what we all really want. What would unravel from their shared past and present now that truths were laid bare? Would the bonds hold strong or snap under the pressure of honesty? As they took a step forward, shadows danced on the edges of her mind, hinting at revelations to come. Vera took a deep breath, the weight of the moment anchoring her. The air was heavy with the scent of daisies, Derek's favorite flower, and she clung to their soft presence, as if they could absorb some of the tension swirling around her. She glanced at the gathered friends, their expectant faces a mix of hope and dread, each person holding their breath, waiting for the next move. She faced Alex, searching for signs of the boy she once knew buried under the layers of hurt and regret. If we do this, if we talk, then there's no turning back, she said, her voice trembling but firm. You can't just come back and expect everything to be okay. I know, Alex replied, his gaze steady. But I have to try. We have to try. Derek shifted slightly, a flicker of pain crossing his features. She wanted to reach for him but knew she had to stand her ground, if only for a moment longer. It was time to put feelings into words, to untangle the mess of her heart before them all. Let us set some ground rules, Vera said, her mind racing. We talk openly, no assumptions. I need honesty from both of you. Jake nodded, a gentle smile on his face as if he was cheering on a pivotal match. I'll take notes. Honest discussion coming right up. That's not funny, she shot back. But the small chuckle that escaped felt like a little release valve on the beam of tension. Okay, what do you want? Alex asked suddenly. What do you need to understand? Vera sighed, clenching her fist. I need to know why you left, Alex. Why you thought being away was better. His brow furrowed as if recalling a distant memory. It felt like the right choice at the time. His voice cracked slightly. I thought I was sparing you pain. I was scared I'd bring you down with me. He paused, eyes red-tinged. I was dealing with my own demons. Derek's grip tightened on her hand again, a silent anchor as he zeroed in on her face. But that's not fair to Vera. You can't put your baggage on her. The intensity in Derek's voice ignited something in Alex, a flash of defiance that quickly cooled. I know. I messed up. I wish I'd known how to talk to her. I wish I'd been stronger. What if it had been different? Vera's voice came out softer than she intended. What if you had fought for me instead? Alex looked pained, anguish furrowing deeper lines into his forehead. I wish I had. But let us not dwell on what could have beens. Can we focus on now? She hesitated, each second stretching like thin threads of fabric. Was this discussion healing or merely a bandage over a deep wound? Derek stepped in. What do you want now, Vera? Now that we're in this unusual situation? Her heart raced against her ribs and tears pricked at her eyes. I want clarity. I want to stop feeling so torn. And I want to know that whoever I choose will truly choose me. The silence that followed was deafening. Vera felt her heart thump against the silence. Every second a beat underscoring her dilemma. Each passing thought played like a prayer for resolution, while the eyes around them watched, frightened yet hopeful. I want you to be happy, Derek said finally, his voice steady though heavy with emotion. I'll support you whatever choice you make. Just promise me you'll think about it and not rush. Vera nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks as the weight of real love washed over her. She opened her mouth but no words came. What was she supposed to say? Maybe it's time for us to give each other space, Alex suggested softly. So you can think. Vera's heart sank. Space might seem like a solution, but uncertainty tugged painfully at her thoughts. As the shadows lengthened in the fading light, she caught renewed hope in both pairs of eyes looking back at her, waiting for her to lead them. Okay, she said finally, her breath hitching, let us figure this out together. But the question spiraled in the air. Could they really make it work after everything? With one last gaze at the faces she had woven her life into, she felt the ground shift under her feet again. Like another choice, another twist awaited just outside the door. Would she find strength in choosing a path, or would the past catch up with her in ways she wasn't ready to face? The sun hung low, casting warm golden rays over the gathered crowd as Vera stood at the center of her crossroads. Everything felt amplified. She could hear the gentle rustle of leaves, feel the softness of the summer breeze, and the palpable tension that bred hope and fear all at once. She glanced at Derek, his reassuring presence wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. Then her gaze shifted to Alex, the man who had once held her heart and now stood, vulnerable and raw, his eyes a mixture of determination and remorse. Let us take a breath, she suggested, trying to ground herself amidst the whirlwind of emotions. Home is a process, not a destination. We want to do this right. Derek nodded, breathing in sync with her, while Alex nodded slowly, searching her eyes with an intensity that left her dizzy. We don't have to make tonight the end, he said softly. We can let this moment unfold as it should. Ruth, who had stayed close, stepped forward, her voice calm yet resonant. Everyone here has their own battles. What matters is we turn a new page together. She extended her hand like an olive branch. Empathy transforms pain into strength. Vera felt the warmth of those words wrap around her heart. She took a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs as it blended with the encouragement swirling around her. She could see it in their faces, eager friends drawn to one another through shared history, wanting to be real, wanting to embrace the truth. Let us gather inside, she said firmly, something sparking inside her, pushing her toward resolve. Let us speak our truths where we can turn the page together. As they all headed back toward the doors of the church, a sense of unity filled the space, an invisible thread weaving them closer. The wedding still echoed within, laughter and joy clashing with the uneasy tension they had stirred outside. But Vera was ready. The congregation glanced their way, whispers rippling through the crowd as they settled in. With the warm evening light catching her, Vera stood before her friends, feeling the weight and warmth of attention upon her. It was time not just for her, but for everyone. I have something to say, she began, heart racing as she faced the gathering. Love isn't just romantic. It isn't just what we expect it to be. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's incredibly beautiful when revealed. Jake's face lit up with understanding, and Ruth nodded encouragingly from the back. I know I've caused pain, Vera turned to Derek, her voice trembling. You showed me what it means to really be there, and I can't take that for granted. I'm sorry for keeping walls up. You taught me about connection when I felt lost. Derek squeezed her hand, his eyes shining with unshed tears. And I'm grateful for your honesty, he replied. You bring strength to my life. Whatever happens next, know it will always be rooted in respect. Vera turned then to Alex. You were a part of my past, and that will never change. It's just that my heart grew while I was searching. She looked around the room filled with familiar faces, some lost in thought, some moved by the courage in her tone. The people that love us shape our stories. can be overwhelming. Alex shifted, visibly struggling to find his voice amidst the thunderous silence. Vera, I never meant to hurt you then. I thought leaving would keep you safe. I see now how wrong I was. I want to build together whatever that looks like. Another layer of vulnerability wove itself into the mix, creating a thick tapestry of emotion that bound them. Your presence was always a flicker of hope for me, he continued. I wish to complement that hope in whatever way you find fit. The room pulsed with energy, the collective breath held tightly in their chests. Life is pushing me forward, Vera said, heart pounding louder. Derek, Alex, what we share is profound, real. We've been on diverging paths, but I want to unify us towards something stronger. I don't want fear to dictate our choices. I want love and understanding to guide us, the love we have for each other, and the love for our community. Jake stepped forward, impassioned. Yes, let us mobilize. With this transition, we can change perspectives both for ourselves and those we yearn to uplift. We can pave the way for others to find their belonging. Together, they took a step forward into the light, their shadows merging on the church walls. From that moment on, it didn't matter if the path twisted or turned. They were forging ahead, creating a network, a movement rooted in authenticity and understanding. There would be no complete returns, only forward moments to tackle with bravery, building bridges instead of walls. Faces lit with new purpose, they shared ideas and laughter, finding solace in one another as they exchanged warmth through healing dialogue. As the rays glittered through the tall windows, illuminating the church, Vera felt hope wash over her like a gentle tide, washing away remnants of doubt. She knew with an unshakable certainty this was the turning point, not just for them but for the entire community they loved. Together they would strive for something beautiful. In that moment, Vera turned to the world outside, where possibilities stretched far beyond their gathering. Her heart filled with courage, its beat syncing perfectly with those who surrounded her. And in that spirit of connection, she whispered one final declaration, a promise for everyone to hold dear. Let us go create a legacy for others, one where everyone knows their worth. The congregation erupted into applause and a cacophony of optimistic cheers, igniting compassion and joy like never before. In the warmth of community, healing bloomed. This beautiful new chapter was just beginning. Now you need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread these vital messages. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. The impact of this story is too great to keep to yourself. Join us and be part of the movement.